Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Happy Kentucky Derby Saturday. What horse are you picking? Put that in the comments immediately. There is a thoroughbred that has caught Ryan Day and Chip Kelly's eye. We're going to get into the number one player in the country for the class of 2026. The guy Chip Kelly is very interested in. Ryan Day is also, obviously interested in a quarterback. He is a superstar. We're going to break his film down, tell you a little bit about him. A big defensive tackle from the South is up in Columbus today as well. These kids are kind of stopping in, during a time where it's a little less than peak season because it is graduation tomorrow. So a lot of kids are off of campus right now, except for the good Buckeyes graduating. Congratulations to any of you that are graduating tomorrow. Enjoy your day. Hopefully the weather holds up at the Horseshoe. But again, we are going to get into this, and we're going to close down right before the post. We have our eye on the Kentucky Derby. I know you guys all want to watch the Kentucky Derby. It is supposed to go off at 57, so in about 58 minutes. So we will close up shop right before then, so you guys will not miss the race. That being said, as always, we appreciate you guys kicking with us. Happy Saturday. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Hope you guys got some work done. The weather in Ohio has been a little rainy, but other than that, it's been a pretty nice day out. So I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. You get an alert every time we go live, which is each and every night, usually around 7. We shifted it up a little bit today because everyone wants to watch the Kentucky Derby, obviously. And there's Game 7, Bruins, Maple Leafs, and UFC 301. Dagestan Poppy on Twitter will have his picks up. He has a couple hammer bets that he is laying down. So it's going to be a great sports night tonight. So, but as always, we got to get our work in so that we can play and have fun later. So that being said, I'm going to bring in someone who is no stranger to playing and having fun, Mr. Nevadabuck. Nevada, how are you tonight? Other than muted. Nevada's
Ohio State staff. I am. I am.
Ohio State staff muted. They muted you. They muted you.
They try to mute me, man, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work. I will not be muted. This will not stand. Nevadabuck will not be muted. But no, the Ohio State staff doing some work. This is a long layoff, as we talked about yesterday. One of the longest layoffs. Kind of a Saban trick that he used to do. That Ryan Day is kind of rolling out of the backpack now. But they're certainly not taking it off. They're bringing guys in. They're doing work. They're hosting visits. And recruiting's in full swing. So good job by Ryan Day and the staff to make most of a kind of a quiet weekend and trying to see if they can add a little bit of talent to the Ohio State roster.
Yeah, and the kid who we're talking about, the Phenom, is Faison Brandon, who is from North Carolina. Obviously, you see in the upper rank, his rating is ones across the board, a 5-star, 247 as the number one player in the entire nation for 2026. So this guy has been offered by everybody in the entire universe. But again, once you get to the cream of the crop, which is Ohio State, LSU, Bama, Clemson, Georgia, Oregon, USC, then that's pretty much who he's going to be choosing from, maybe Texas. But this kid is a stud. We're going to get into his film. Nevada, with the quarterback evaluations and recruiting, obviously Ryan has had he's been nails. Let's just give credit where credit's due. Between developing Dwayne Haskins and then making the move to go get Justin Fields from Georgia, to obviously CJ Stroud, who's the highest drafted quarterback we've had in a long time. McCord, definite step back. This year goes out and gets Will Howard. What do you make of it when he and Chip Kelly go on a kid like this, and what's compelling about this new offense with Chip Kelly for a kid like Faison Brandon?
Well, it's just it's an offense that I think. Look, I think the full impact of it for people really hasn't been. They don't really know yet because we don't even know yet. We follow it closer than anybody. I think the word's going to get out really quickly when they see the magic that's being conjured up between Chip Kelly and Ryan Day. But you're talking about two of the biggest, brands, names, from an offensive coaching standpoint in all of football, let alone college football, both on the same staff, have so much to offer. Between them, have developed so many top-notch quarterbacks. Up and you look at Chip Kelly's quarterback tree in terms of successful college quarterbacks on into the NFL. Has done an amazing job, as has Ryan Day. And but I wanted to take this. I want to ask you a question though, just because you brought this
Hmm.
topic of development. We talked about McCord just for a second, and obviously, the inevitable comparison comes down between McCord and JJ McCarthy. And JJ McCarthy obviously goes high in the NFL draft. You think he's going to be a superstar, NFL Hall of Famer type of player. McCord obviously left, went on to Syracuse. Didn't get as much acclaim, didn't get as much love, and it's the popular pick and an accurate pick to say that they really screwed up and made the bad pick. Um, my question to you is, how do you think that J.J. McCarthy would have done in a Ryan Day pass first, don't run the football kind of offense? And because I haven't really talked about this much. I know you're big on J.J. I know you like him a lot, but how do you think he would have done in the Ohio State offense, given his skill set, the type of stuff that he liked to do at Michigan, the type of stuff he did at Michigan, and how do you think that would have fit into an Ohio State offense that hasn't had a rushing touchdown out of QB1 in 3 years? How do you think that would have played with JJ McCarthy?
And for those of you that haven't watched the show in a week, I think JJ McCarthy is a total douchebag. So Nevada says that like tongue in cheek. I did say this. I will cop to this. I said he's going to the best situation for a rookie quarterback out of any of the rookies because of Justin Jefferson, who I think is outstanding. He's an NFL Hall of Famer. And then Hawkinson, I think, is an incredible tight end. So then you have Jordan Addison. So between those three, like when you look at like what Drake May's going to with the Patriots, he's throwing to like Hunter Henry and whoever. Like it's just a different universe when you've got Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkins. So do I think JJ McCarthy's going to be a Hall of Famer? No, I think he's just a guy. I think that he was held up by a fantastic defense and a offensive line that pulverized teams with two adequate running backs. Not great running backs, adequate running backs. They were above average. They were good college players. They were not NFL superstar type running backs. So, again, like the crazy thing is that, even last year when we had poor quarterback play, in my opinion, and more importantly, in Ryan Day's opinion, because when Kyle McCord marched into Ryan Day's office in December with Daddy and demanded, hey, we want to start. We want to be guaranteed to be the starter. We want a big NIL check. Ryan Day said, deuces. See ya. Have a good life. Not guaranteeing anything. He wasn't worth the money. And then he literally went out and got Will Howard. He paid Will Howard the money that he could have given to Kyle McCord. And I know a lot of people think Will Howard stinks and he can't throw and whatever, but it's like Ryan Day thinks he's got something in the guy. And again, if he sucked in the spring or he couldn't throw in the spring or whatever, like Ryan saw enough of him that, hey, I can make this guy into a horse and this guy can lead me to the national championship. Because Ryan had to go find a quarterback in a year where he's got more guys coming back than we've ever had. We've had more success in the portal than anybody in the country with Caleb Downs, Quinshon Judkins, Seth McLaughlin. We've loaded up this year. So he had to make the right pick at quarterback, and he picked Will Howard. So again, I think JJ McCarthy is a false idol. I think that he's impossibly overrated, but I also think that this is the position in the NFL that gets GMs fired more than every other position combined times 1,000, because these guys have to roll the dice and pick a quarterback, even if it's a quarterback that they don't frankly believe in, because they have to have somebody. Like, I mean, if you're the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings and you're going to stake your livelihood on Sam Darnold, who I thought coming out was going to be at least decent, and he's been atrocious. I mean, he's on this is like his fourth or fifth team now. Like, I think that you got to keep shooting the dice. And again, I've talked to you about this, Nevada, about how overpowered quarterbacks are, and like how, if you don't have one, like, and maybe it wasn't you. I've talked to somebody about this, but it was just like, do you not just keep investing a pick until you actually hit on one? Because without a quarterback, you have no chance in the National Football League. I mean, you look at the quarterbacks, even Brock Purdy. Like, I think that's what JJ McCarthy is. I think he's a worse version of Brock Purdy. And if he's in the most perfect system of all time, and he's got 2 first-round receivers in Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, he's got a Pro Bowl tight end in Kittle, he's got the best left tackle in football in Trent Williams, and he has the best player in football in Christian McCaffrey, then yeah, he could be a Pro Bowler. Yeah, he could be good. But if you put like Brock Purdy on like the Carolina Panthers last year, he'd be playing in the XFL. So again, I'm the king of saying infrastructure is everything for quarterback. Honestly, it's one of those positions where you're very much dependent on what's around you. It's like goaltender. Like when you're a goalie in the NHL, if you have like the Boston Bruins play fantastic defense. That's been their calling card for like 10 years, ever since they signed Zdeno Chara. And, they went from the guy that won the Vezina last year, who's on the bench now, and then the guy who's probably going to win it this year, Jeremy Swayman, is in net. And those guys both put up sparkling numbers because their defense is incredible. And that's kind of like when you're a quarterback and you've got Ryan Day and Chip Kelly and Quinshon Judkins and Trey Henderson and JJ Smith, and like your life's just way easier than if you're playing at Iowa, and you've got our 12th string receiver as their number one. So I think JJ, I don't know. Like I could never, JJ, he's like Drew Aller to me, where people tell me he's great. They tell me he's got tools. They tell me he's, he throws the football in the basketball gym in the off season and stuff. But then when I watch him, I'm just like, he's just not that guy. He's not that good. Now, did he go 15-0 win national championship? Of course, he did. But if he didn't have the best line in college, the best defense in college, two good running backs, I don't know. Maybe the best tight or the second best tight end behind Bowers last year. I don't know. I mean, he had a lot of help, is what I'm saying. Like he's not like some guy he's not like Josh Allen coming out of Wyoming, who's throwing to 0 draft picks, and there's not a single other guy on the entire team that gets drafted. He has to literally put the team on his back. Or like a guy that was a perfect example was Tim Couch at Kentucky. Tim Couch is at Kentucky. I mean, he's thrown to Craig Yeast, who's the only guy on that offense that got drafted. And he goes 1 overall, and he's beating LSU, and he's beating Alabama. Tim Couch was a monster. Now his shoulder blew out, and Tim Couch was the prime example of, you get drafted to the 99 Browns. I don't care if you're Michael Vick, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, you're going to die. Same as David Carr to the Texans. You go to some expansion team, bunch of practice squatters on that O-line. I mean, you're going to die. And it happened. And Tim got hurt.
Now, Kirk, there's a guy that you probably haven't heard of. You probably did you can pull him up in your Google machine. But a guy who played without any talent around him.
Joe Montana or something?
No, Will Howard, this guy from Kansas State, big kid, 6'4" kid or something like that. Talk about playing with no talent. That was Will Howard.
Deuce Vaughn, man. He had a 5'5" running back, Deuce Vaughn. He got drafted by 5'5", drafted by the Cowboys.
I mean, Will Howard had nothing, and it just that guy comes here to Ohio State. People don't think he's going to get better. It's no. And also to your point about infrastructure, while C.J. Stroud had some infrastructure, I mean, he had Tunzel and he had some. It wasn't like C.J. Stroud was thrown to the best wide receiver group in football or something like that. I mean, he was thrown to a bunch of bums out there, and for C.J. to do what he did at the Texans was just that much more impressive, in my opinion, because I didn't think he'd have anywhere that kind of success the first year right off the bat, because I just didn't see it in the wide receiver. I just didn't think he'd have the receiving threats. But boy, he might be the favorite to be the NFL MVP, and he did that. Whereas a guy like Bryce Young goes out there and just gets trashed. I don't know if Bryce is even going to be a decent NFL quarterback. I mean, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I don't think anybody does. But that Will Howard kid comes from Kansas State, not a single player on the team, being the 2 deep, and now he's at Ohio State. I mean, I think his numbers are going to get a lot better. Just a hunch.
Yeah, I that's a great comparison. I think CJ, his receivers stunk. I mean, obviously, Laramie Tunsil is one of the best left tackles in the game. They actually had a decent line. But, with a rookie coach who's a defensive guy, and, I mean, there's nobody on earth that said CJ is going to take these guys to the playoffs, and they're going to be this, and now they're literally a favorite to go to the Super Bowl because they're all in, man. They traded for Stephon Diggs. They traded for Donnell Hunter. So they've got 2 superstar defensive ends now with Will Anderson and Donnell Hunter. And then you've got Steph Diggs, if Tank Dell's healthy. I mean, CJ made Nico Collins look like he was Michael Irvin out there. I don't think anybody picked Nico Collins in their fantasy league, and he turned into a Pro Bowler because of CJ. So, I mean, and again, I hate to be obvious, but like if CJ goes to Carolina, man, and he's got that crazy owner. David Tepper is like he's literally, I think, either the richest or the second richest owner in the NFL. He's completely insane. He fired Frank Wright like 10 weeks into the season after, giving him a 5-year deal. And their line was atrocious. Their running game was atrocious. Adam Thielen did great, but like if you're, honestly, it's a lot like Justin Fields. Like Justin Fields, like, could you imagine if the Bears would have just went all in with Justin Fields this year instead of Caleb Williams and taken Marvin first overall? And you have Marvin, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, two really good young tackles, DeAndre Swift, and then Justin Fields, the quarterback. Like, what would his life would have been like, as opposed to the crew that he's had the first 2 years? This last year they helped him. They got him DJ Moore, who was great. Cole Kmet's a really good tight end, but like those first 2 years, man, it was like Justin was getting pulverized, getting hurt, and they were beating like the 49ers, and it was the Justin Fields show. Like he was running for his life, making things happen. But yeah, I feel bad for Justin because on the face of it, if you look at it, it looks like he's a bust because he got, if you're a first round pick and you go top 15, top 10, whatever, and you get traded for a 6th round pick and they don't pick up your 5th-year option, in general, that means you're a bust. Now, the Bears are so negligent and incompetent that I almost give Justin a pass because I feel like he might have landed in the greatest place in the universe because the Steelers just loaded up on the offensive line. They took a 1st-round tackle. They really invested heavy in the line. They've got decent skill. And Justin, I think will beat out Russell Wilson by like week 3. So, but yeah, that's my infrastructure chalk. And I think like, that's the thing. I was happy for CJ, and CJ's team is loaded this year. And he actually, on one of the betting sites, I don't know if it was Bovada or one of them, they have CJ as the betting favorite over Mahomes for the MVP, which is incredible for a 2nd-year guy. And what an extension he's going to get. We got a couple super chats in. Nevada, we also have a young kid visiting. I'm going to pull that up real quick. Malik Autry is in the building. He is a kid from another Southern kid committed to Auburn. Again, in general, I don't think that these kids come up here for the scenery, but he's checking out Ohio State today. He's a guy, I don't know. Like, I think that, LJ, as much crap as LJ takes, man, these guys love to come up and see him. He's the number 4 rated defensive lineman in the country, 34th overall. So that's right on the fringe of being a 5-ish star type dude. He's from Bama. So, again, we've offered more kids from Alabama this year than I think we had in the last 10 years because Carlos Laughlin's down there doing work. Obviously, he's from Pike Road, Alabama. But this is an intriguing kid, big twitched up kid. I'll toss this from up there, but you can't teach 6'5", 320. That is a wonderful thing to have. But your thoughts on not just him, but kind of how we're moving more into the South in the post Nick Saban Alabama era.
Well, this is a concerted effort by Ryan Day. I mean, Ryan Day was looking. They were looking at should they expand their recruiting efforts eastward, westward, or southern. Trying to go. We've talked, oftentimes about trying to go after the Polynesian kids on the West Coast. But they really think they can make inroads in the South, and they really believe there's a giant recruiting void that's been opened up. And they're investing resources not only in the primary staff but in secondary staff and recruiting service experts. I mean, they're doing a lot down in the South right now. So I think you're going to see more. You're going to see more visits. You're going to see more offers. You're going to see more visibility for Ohio State. And they really believe that as the Big Ten expands, as the Big Ten is playing on all 3 time zones. The Big Ten is really the national conference. And, I've used the example between like the National Football League and the American Football League before. That's kind of what's evolving right now with the Big Ten and the SEC. The Big Ten is kind of the national league, playing it all, from coast to coast, from 9 a.m. in the morning until midnight. And the SEC is really the powerful kind of regional Southern school. And they feel like they've got something to sell to these kids, and they're going in there and not being afraid to go toe-to-toe with them in Bama. They feel like Caleb DeBoers is definitely, he's a northerner down there in a southern state. No reason they can't pull those kids to Ohio State, and they're going to go after it. This will not be the first of these efforts. They're going to be continuing, and this is going to expand in the future.
Well, I think that something that's really great about getting Carlos Loughlin on staff is that it's hard to go down to a state where you have it's like a new frontier. Like, I mean, obviously the Ohio State logo is global and everybody knows the Ohio State logo and that all that jazz. But like, you need to have somebody that knows the area, knows the coaches, knows the culture. Like, you go get Carlos Loughlin who grew up down in Alabama. That's a whole different ball of wax than it is to just send some random coach down there and say, golly gee whiz, I sure would love to go build inroads in Alabama. Because, in the Saban era, that was almost just like, why are we wasting our time? But with Carlos, I think that he could make a really compelling case, which is why I'm excited to see what he can do, because I think that he's going to be a monster down there, and he's offering running backs from down there, and I don't think it's just to go visit his folks. I think he's actually gonna you gotta go pull some of these guys, and I think he's gonna do a good job of that. So I'm really excited about it. I think that getting some fresh blood in some recruiting areas where we could probably make some more hay, especially in the post Saban era. Again, like when Nick was down there, it's not really worth your time to go down there against him. And that's a lot like Louisiana. Like, I mean, when Louisiana was on fire and really good, like we don't even go recruit their defensive tackles because we already know they're going to LSU and at worst Bama. But usually, like if there's some superstar D tackle, he grew up dreaming of being an LSU Tiger. His whole family is fans of the LSU Tigers, so he's probably going to be an LSU Tiger. So you're not going to go down there and try to rip him out of Baton Rouge or New Orleans. But yeah, I think that this is going to be really this is going to be interesting. Like, I'm really excited to see what we can do, and if we pull some kids from down there, because Georgia has opened up for us in the last 15 years, really since we got Roby in 2010. And now it's just like just rip that thing open and get some more of these guys, because it's with NIL. I say this all the time. It opens everything up for us in the South, because for one, the bag men are dead. For two, like if these kids have some bread in their pockets, they got some money. Like, it's a lot easier for mama to travel up to the game when you can buy her plane ticket. You can get a 2-bedroom condo. Like a lot of these kids, like their apartments are beautiful and they get 2-bedroom. So mom can stay at the apartment when you're at the Blackwell the night before the game. So there's a lot more convenience, and it's all above board. This isn't like, hey, mama, they're going to leave an envelope of cash in your mailbox, grab it before, the post guy comes or whatever. This is like, no, these kids got money. So again, it's a convenience thing. And I think that it's great. I think that, these parents should be able to travel to see their kids. And that's really good. Again, I always talk about how good NIL is for Ohio State. That's really good for Ohio State, because then there's no more, well, I don't want to go far from home, because, when your parents can come see you and you can pay for it and it doesn't really put a dent in your pocket, then I think it's great. We're getting some super chats going. Larry Daniels, thank you for the 5. Thank you for being Ultra member as well. Appreciate you, my man. I hope you're having a great Saturday. And Day, Kelly, Knowles, players, fans, and SWO, we trust. I like that. Nevada, your thoughts, because it's funny. Like, I mean, sometimes when I just read that, it just looks so amazing that we have Ryan Day and Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles, along with this roster. But like, your thoughts on that? Like, when you see that, like sometimes, like it's. I know we talk about it every day, so it seems like it's old hat, but it is jarring when you see all those names together on a staff. Like, that's insane. But your thoughts on that?
Well, my first thought is, man, there's a lot of people that hate Jim Knowles. A lot of people used to call him the $2 million man, talk about his gimmicky defense, talk about how he'd like to do this crazy thing and play with a nickel back. And I'm not sure if a coach that came in and improved the situation as much as he did, as quickly as it has ever taken as much abuse as Jim Knowles did. And so that's one of my first thoughts. And then I think Chip Kelly, man, some people called him a fraud. They didn't want him even hired. And and people want Ryan Day fired too. So Well, to me, I look at it as it's a dream staff. Um, it's funny because I think Ohio State fans are great, but man, they're hard. Man, they eat their own really quick, and sometimes you got to give these times a chance. I mean, the Jim Knowles defense improved dramatically. Last year, we only gave up 11 points a game, which is insane. I mean, better than the 2019 defense on just about every metric, and that's considered one of the great defenses of all time. And people are still mad at Jim Knowles, and blaming him for losses and things like that. And Chip Kelly doesn't get as much love as I think he should either. So um, maybe it's going to take a national championship deep run for people to fully appreciate it. But man, I'm telling you guys, fully appreciate it now. Don't wait until the end. Don't wait for the destination. Enjoy the journey, because to have a staff like this together, they're only going to be together for a very short period of time, because that's just the way these things work in modern college football. So enjoy every minute while they're here. Don't waste the time being mad at them over whatever. Enjoy the fact that we've got them here. It's an amazing group, and they're going to treat us to an amazing 2024. And I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, it's always kind of interesting because there's some people that just hate. They just hate everything, And there's some of the. It's like Tress had his one line where he just talked about like people are just so impossibly miserable, and there are a lot of miserable bastards that love to watch Ohio State football, and I'm like, guys, like they're not robots. Things can happen, but man, this is as good as it gets. Like, I mean, outside of Alabama, the last 20 years, every program in the entire country would trade theirs for ours. Maybe Clemson because they had one more title, but if you go back to 02, we got 2 natties. Clemson's got a couple. Bama's got more than we do. But that's kind of it. Georgia's got a couple. So, if you're really nitpicking, but I mean, if you take the last 20 years, like that means that you have to have Georgia when they stunk, from 2000 until, until Kirby Smart showed up. And it was like year 3 at Kirby. So I don't know. Like, I think that we've got a great program. I think that we've got a lot to look forward to. I think there's a lot of stuff going in the right direction. But the standard isn't even the standard. Like that's like a thing that, is a catchy little deal to say the standard is the standard. It's more like the standard is impossible because you have to win the national championship, and anything short of a national championship is an abject failure. And granted, I know recently we've lost to Michigan. We haven't even made to the Big Ten championship. So I get it. But I feel like we're close. Again, we just got to figure out a way to win that last game. Which again, that's if we win that last game the last 3 times, then we're winning the Natty or we're winning the Big Ten easily. Obviously, the Georgia game we missed a field goal. We would have got to TCU, would have beat them. So I don't know. It's a lot of what ifs. It's a lot of uncashed tickets, just because when you watch a guy like CJ Stroud walk out the door and he doesn't win a single thing in his entire career, other than a Rose Bowl that was kind of a. It was the Rose Bowl was a nice game, but it just isn't what it used to be. Now that with the playoffs and the championship, and that's fine. Again, I like that the standard is that, and I hope it never changes. I hope that people are hard on the kids. I hope that people are tough on the coaching staff because if they don't want to take the heat, they can go play at Akron and then go play at Heidelberg. Nobody watches any of those games. Nobody cares. But you also don't get, like I always say, the pendulum of hate and anger swings one way. But when you win that big ring, like forever, you're Cardale Jones or you're Craig Krenzel or you're whoever. You're forever a national champion, and you get to live that forever. And people remember that, especially if you're an actual contributor. Like if you're just a guy that sits on the bench, like your life probably doesn't change much. But if you're a guy like Cardale who did the whole thing and whatever, like his life changed dramatically. So I don't know. I don't mind it because I like the standard being high. And I like that people are held accountable, but it is what it is. And again, it is a tough crowd, but again, I'm good with it. The Blues, thanks for the deuce. Gear channel, I think that playing is great channel, maybe. Just to show support. Appreciate you, my man, as always. Geo did, thanks for the 5. JJ McCarthy is the most overhyped QB prospect in recent years. Ooh, I don't know about that, man. Zach Wilson's pretty high. I mean, Zach Wilson went 2 overall, man. That is some tall cotton. Mitch Trubisky was better coming out of North Carolina. that should tell you all you need to know. I mean, maybe. I mean, it's like it's hard to compare like a turd to a turd. I mean, that's like the thing is like when once the guy busts out, like I mean, like Zach Wilson was just impossibly bad. I mean, Zach Wilson was like he was small. He played at BYU, so he had no pressure. Nobody cared about BYU ever. And he had like a mythical pro day where everybody thought that he was going to be like God's gift to football. And like those guys are always a little like they always raise an eyebrow to me when there's a guy that most of the nation's never heard of. He hasn't been in the white hot spotlight that like playing at Ohio State or playing at Bama or playing at Georgia does. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't like I said, is JJ great? I don't think so. Like I thought when Jim Harbaugh said that he was the greatest quarterback in Michigan history, that was very cringeworthy. Obviously with Brady being there, but like I said, there's been a lot of bad quarterbacks, and I'm not saying like I think JJ is absolutely going to be a journeyman. He'll be a guy that'll play 10 years in the league, and he'll be like Chase Daniels. Like he'll hold the clipboard for 15 years, start like 12 games in his career, and make like $60 million. Like I mean, it's like the most incredible career of all time. Go look up Chase Daniels from Missouri's career. I don't know Nevada. Like I mean, I know you hate JJ McCarthy. I get it as a Michigan guy, but I mean, he didn't go like I mean, Zach Wilson went 2 overall in the draft. I mean, I don't know. Like I mean,
No, but let me be real clear though. I don't hate him because he's a Michigan guy. I've said this many times. My favorite player of all time for the Packers, one of my favorites, was Charles Woodson. I loved Desmond Howard when he played for the Packers. I mean, I love Rashawn Gary. I can like Michigan players. What I don't like is players that aren't good. Like he offends me in a way that Christian Hackenberg used to offend me because everybody would talk
that's
about
fair.
Christian Hackenberg, about how good he was, and I would watch him and I'd be going. It was like Tom Hanks in the movie Big. You ever see him in Big when he works at the toy company and he's like
Yeah.
the guy and he kind of raises his hand and he's like, I don't get it. And they're like, what don't you get? I don't get it. That's how I feel about when I watch JJ McCarthy. I just don't get it. I didn't get it with Christian Hackenberg. I didn't get it with Trey Lance. I don't get it with Drew Aller. It's the same reaction. It's like, I don't understand. I don't see what everybody else seems to be saying, but everybody else seems just to be nodding their head and going, yeah, he's great. He's awesome. He's super awesome. And look at his meditation and he does it without socks on. And oh my God. And I'm just like, I don't get it. Now, maybe I'm the dummy. Maybe I'm the one that's the dummy, but it isn't a Michigan thing. I hate Michigan, but I can like their players, but I just don't see it with this guy at all. And maybe and to me, like I said, being Chase Stand, yeah, he'll make a lot of money. I mean, guys make a lot of money in the league and can make a lot of money, playing things, being mediocre. But, I love it from the Vikings standpoint because I think it's going to set the Vikings back 5 years, maybe 10 years, because they're going to have to give them time. They can't just give up on them right away. The only team that would do something like that would be the Atlanta. How about the Atlanta Falcons? The Atlanta Falcons go out and pay Kirk Cousins a fortune, and then they draft Michael Penix, and then the GM has to explain to Arthur Blank that. Did you see him explaining to Arthur Blank what they were doing? I mean, it was crazy. Now again, Michael Penix can turn out to be great, but it doesn't matter. You just paid Kirk Cousins $120 million. Like, what are you doing? Michael Penix, by the time Michael Penix is old, he's like 26 years old. By the time Cousins done with that contract, he's going to be in his 30s. I mean, it's crazy. So I don't know. It's the quarterback position is a mystery wrapped in an enigma. But JJ McCarthy, I just don't get it, man. Don't understand it.
Well, I always tell you, like, I've met a ton of GMs, like from my time in the NFL, combine interviews, Senior Bowl interviews. Like, and like, there's some of the least impressive people you could ever meet. I mean, they're always these like dweebs. They always think they're the smartest person in the room. They get all obsessed with analytics. And like, if I'm Arthur Blank and I just wrote a check for, whatever it was, $250 million to Kirk Cousins or whatever it was. I mean, Kirk Cousins was, the highest paid quarterback in the league or in the free agency market. If I just paid Kirk Cousins that kind of money and you're going to tell me we're going to spend a top 10 pick on another quarterback instead of a star wide receiver or Brock Bowers. I mean, well, here's the weird thing. Like, Arthur Blank needs better people around him. Because, again, I'm like a lot of you guys, I love fantasy football. Play fantasy football. I took Bijan Robinson last year. The way they used Bijan Robinson, and he fired Arthur Smith, which he should have. But I was like, you're telling me you took a running back in like the top 7 or whatever Bijan went, and he's just kind of like a change of pace guy, starts, plays a little bit, gets like 10 touches. I mean, I would have gone ballistic. I was like, dude, that guy's touching the ball 25 times a game. I don't care. I'm paying all that money to a running back. And then they have the tight end who's the super freak from Florida, and they don't throw it to him ever. I mean, Jonnu Smith was their leading tight end last year over the kid that was the 4th overall pick in the draft. So like, I wouldn't trust the GM. I wouldn't trust the coach. And if I paid all that money and my GM picked a quarterback, when I just paid Kirk Cousins Kirk Cousins is in his like mid 30s. So like, he doesn't have a lot of juice left in that old body. I mean, he's played a lot of football, a lot of injuries, coming back from the Achilles, whatever. But like, you have to win now. You have to load that team up. You have to go get another weapon or get another blocker, get a tackle, get a piece on defense, get something. I mean, God, go take the kid from UCLA who's the pass rusher, who I thought was fantastic, who the Colts took. Like, but it's just like, to take a guy who literally can't play on the field at the same time as Kirk Cousins is insanity. But again, these GMs, they always think they're the smartest human beings on earth. That's why they take like Zach Wilson over Justin Fields. They take Mac Jones in the first round, who stinks. I don't know. Like, I mean, Tua, God bless Tua, but he went over Justin Herbert. Like, Justin Herbert is incredible, you know. He's right next to Burrow, in my opinion, in that same class. I mean, he probably should have been the 2nd pick in the draft, but I don't know. Like, GMs, they're special. But Gio, that was a great question. But I just think, you know, and again, McCarthy might be the most overhyped guy, but I mean, Zach Wilson he was just impossibly bad from the start because he was little and he acted like a douchebag and all the stuff off the field. And I'm like, you know, and they paid that kid and they took that kid second. I don't know. Like, to me, he tops JJ because at least JJ won a national title. Like, I mean, like Zach Wilson, I mean, nobody ever even heard of him before the draft, but there's always a few guys that are like underevaluated that like skyrocket come draft time because they'll go do good at the Senior Bowl. They'll run something good at the combine. Then they'll have that magnificent pro day. And it's like these GMs, I mean, it's like they're like the minions, like, you know, in Toy Story when the little claw thing's there and they look up and they say, ooh, claw. It's like, ooh, pro day. Ooh, he threw an off the back foot floater pass that you could never actually throw in the NFL and he completed it. Ooh. Because like the same throw that Wilson made is the same one JJ made to end his pro day. And everyone's like, ooh, Jordan Palmer really scripted a really nice thing. And I'm just like, oh my God. If you guys like, you want to talk about the worst quarterback in the history of the NFL, Jordan Palmer. Like, I was with him in Cincinnati. And, oh my God. Whoo, was he bad. And now he runs every pro day. He is now the quarterback whisperer, which is like, it's the richest thing I've ever seen. Because Carson Palmer was a baller. He was incredible. His little brother Jordan, whew, hot trash. Shannon Boyle, thank you for the 5. Nevada, any thoughts on Marcus Williamson? 9 bank robberies and 4 other former Buckeyes in jail or going to the joint. What's going on with former Buckeyes? I have no idea who the 4 other Buckeyes are in the joint, other than maybe I think it's Art Schleisner still in there. I don't know. I honestly don't really care. It's sad. It's pathetic on a kid like Marcus's fault. I mean, obviously he's got severe mental issues. He had that eruption during the Rose Bowl, and then I believe he did an interview where he kind of like sold out his team, like to, I don't know if it was USA Today or it was somebody. One of the big things interviewed Marcus, and then they threw him away like a used condom because that's what they do to these guys. This kid goes out and he sings like a canary and he says, "Oh, I was abused" or whatever. Like, I don't know what it was, but I remember when I read it, it rubbed me the wrong way. And there were guys, of course, trying to reach out and help him. His former teammates are saying, "Marcus, you know, what's wrong, dog? What's going on?" And he just keeps singing like a canary. And then, you know, he goes and robs 9 banks. So obviously, if you're robbing banks, you're impossibly dumb in modern times because this isn't like the old west. This isn't like you can put on your ride your horse away into the desert and no one will ever find you. Like with modern surveillance and technology, and they've got chips in your phone where they can track everything you do and in your car, and it's just dumb. And like there's a part of me that feels bad for the kid, but there's also a part of me where it's like, no one's come to save you. And you got to be self-reliant in life, or else you have no chance. So, Nevada, I don't know if you want to comment on Marcus Williamson, but he's been in a downward spiral ever since he was like ripping the coaching staff during the rest. He like quit on the team, and it was just weird. But you have any comments on that?
Well, yeah, this is just. I mean, this is just math. This is just math. Math is undefeated. I would say if you take a population, any population within a particular demographic, or do a thing and take hundreds of players or over a period of years, and you're going to have a few scholars, a few felons, a few domestic abusers, a few Olympians, a few. I mean, it's just math. So I mean, hey, Jeffrey Dahmer went to Ohio State too. Did you know that? So we had our own serial killer and stuff like that. Yeah, he did.
I watched the show on Netflix. Of course, I knew that.
Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying. So it's like, hey, do I blame Ohio State for that? No, I do not blame Ohio State for that. I blame Ohio State for having the worst SID in all of college football, but I do not blame them for Jeffrey Dahmer. So it's just kind of the way that I roll. I'm tough, but I'm fair.
Yeah, like I mean, and you can't. The thing I learned a long time ago is like you can't save them all. You can't save everybody. Like I mean, you try to, and again, I don't put this on the coaching staff. I don't put this on. I mean, maybe you could put it on the parents. I don't know, but I mean, there's some really good parents that their kids end up being the worst human beings in the world. So I don't know.
Lyle Dahmer, Lyle Dahmer.
Lyle, you actually know his name. Did you watch the show on Netflix about it?
I read all the books on that stuff. I watched the Netflix series was unbelievable.
That's what I'm saying. It was really good.
Yeah, the dad was super creepy, like taking him to pick up roadkill and stuff. I mean, there's some things. Maybe
there's some compliance in there. There's some compliance in there.
I'm sure you pick up some parenting.
Hey, Dad, do you have any lime, Dad? No, son. We can go get some at the hardware store. Dad, do you have an excavator? Great.
Yeah, if little Kirk wants to pick up like dead raccoons and bring them home,
a 50-gallon drum and some lime, and what do you need that for, son? Oh, nothing, Dad. Science experiment. Oh yeah, son. We can go to Lowe's right after I get off work. That'd be great. As soon as I get done doing my podcast with Nevada, let's go over to Lowe's. We'll eat some lime, boy.
Dad, it's gonna be like the cats in the cradle. Your kids didn't get enough time with Daddy because he's
God.
I'm too bad, son. I'm potting with Nevada, son, so I don't have time for you.
I'm too busy breaking down highlight films. Sorry. Oh my God, we're like off the rails. Yeah. So we got a few more minutes. We got this stuff. Super chats are coming in. All right. So Johnny Harris, thank you for the 10. I totally agree with you about Justin Fields. Plus, the experience he got in Chicago was very intense. To no offensive line receivers to help him, no coaching, no scheme. Nevada OH. Yeah, I mean, I knew like when Justin got drafted by Chicago. Like, I mean, Chicago has literally never had a good quarterback, like ever. It is like where quarterbacks go to die. So Caleb Williams, but I mean, with Caleb, it's like. They made his supporting staff so overpowered. I mean, Keenan Allen had 125 catches last year, I think, and DJ Moore was incredible. I mean, he had like one of the biggest games of the year last year. It had like 280 yards receiving or something. So he's got dudes. And then they signed DeAndre Swift. I mean, we're going to see, but it's the infrastructure thing I talk about. Like, imagine if the San Francisco, again, there's another one, Trey Lance. I didn't even mention Trey Lance when we were talking about overhead quarterbacks. Like, John Lynch, who went to Stanford, is probably the best general manager in the National Football League, literally drafted Trey Lance over Justin Fields. A guy that, because of COVID, in 1AA football, played one game the year that he got drafted. So, like, and Kyle Shanahan is probably the best offensive mind in the NFL right now, outside of Andy Reid. And they couldn't get it out of Trey Lance. Like, imagine if, like, Justin, if the 49ers hadn't screwed the pooch and they took Justin Fields, and you put Justin in that offense with Ayuk and Debo, and especially Christian McCaffrey, Kittle, that defense, I mean, come on. Do you think he'd be getting traded for a 6th-round pick, or would he be getting signed for $400 million? Like, you guys are smart. You guys know, you guys watch this show. And I don't pray for much. I'm always happy when Buckeyes get drafted. I just always pray that it's to a good situation, especially the kids that I really care about. Like, I just pray that they go to a good place. Like, they go to a place where they can be competitive. They'll get a real chance. Because I was in some organizations that are just like death's door, and some of them have changed since I haven't played a long time. But some of them I was like, oh my God, I can see why they're in last place every single year, because like there is a lot of ancillary stuff that goes on in organizations that there's a reason why they're never competitive, why they're never good. And a lot of it starts with ownership. The owners can be crazy. They can be unrealistic. So they're firing coaches every single year, every 2 years. The building is just a morgue. Like I said, I've been around it all. So I always just pray these guys go to good spots. And that's why, I thought, for Cade Stover got drafted in the best situation he could ever dream of in a billion years. Like, he gets to go to Houston, Texas, where he's going to love Houston. Houston's a great city. And then he gets to play with CJ. So, he's going to, it's not like he's going to some, he's not going, Cade, who's, a pretty conservative dude. It's not like he's going to San Francisco, or it's not like he's going to, some crazy place. Like, he's going to, Houston. Perfect for him. And I think he's going to do work. And he's behind a Pro Bowler in Dalton Schultz, who he can learn stuff from. I think Cade's going to have a great, great situation in Houston. Start off on special teams, learn to block, do everything Dalton Schultz does, and he'll be crushing it, absolutely crushing it. So very happy for him. Shannon Boyle. Let's see. All right, that's 5 from Shannon Boyle. 1 is Marcus. 2 is Raceball, Federal Pen. Derek Ross, domestic violence. 4, Derek Combs, drug possession. 5, Art Schleiser, as always. Well, I literally saw Derek Ross 2 days ago, so he must be out on bail, because I literally saw him at Twin Peaks, so there's no way that he's still in. Raceball, I don't know. Marcus, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I really don't care. I mean, Nevada, do you care? I knew Ray. Obviously, when these guys go sideways with the law, it's sad. But there's nothing we can really do. I mean, art's art. Art's the worst human being on earth. So, kind of is what it is at this point. But I don't know. Do you care, Nevada? And I apologize, shit. I don't mean to be short, but it's just I don't really.
But again,
good.
When you have hundreds and hundreds, you're talking about over a period of time. What's the period of time between Art Schleister and today? I mean, how many thousands of players have come through Ohio State? And so, yeah, you're going to have a few that. And the fact, though, that Kirk, that you broke Ross out of prison and took him to Twin Peaks with you, that to me speaks to the brotherhood. The fact that you were able to get him out,
yes,
get him to Twin Peaks, you guys have a nice meal, do you have like a patty melt, maybe a couple of beers or something like that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the brotherhood in action right there. People talk about the brotherhood and they say, "Oh, it's just the brotherhood. Oh, it's the worst." You acted on it, and I want to salute you. I want to salute you for doing that, and I appreciate you.
I put a file inside of the chicken wing. I took them like an 18 piece, but I got all drums from Twin Peaks. I got the all drum chicken wings.
Yeah, they're important.
Same with Buffalo, because people that know what I eat, it's like Buffalo Wild Wings, Twin Peaks. So, but I literally saw him too, because I didn't know who he was, and I was talking to him, and he just randomly said he was Derek Ross. I was like, dude, I used to work out in the Woody with you. Now this is when he was in the league, because he went pro after the 01 season, which is hilarious, because he's like a guy, if he would have stayed for 02, wins an Natty. He starts at corner opposite Chris Gamble on one of the best teams in Ohio State history. But he went pro, drafted mid round. I mean, he was a freak when he played. I mean, guys told me he was no joke as a corner. But I worked out in the Woody my freshman 03, and he'd be back in the offseason in the summers working out. So it's like, I didn't know who he was. He was in his Cowboys gear or whatever team he was in gear, and talked to him. But it wasn't like it was like, hey, let's go hang out. Because I don't know, I didn't really care. But I mean, he was cool. We talked a little bit, and I said I played from 03 to 07, so I just missed you. But It was funny. The other guy that was Marco Cooper. And Marco Cooper, I remember like he got kicked off the team literally like right after the spring game in 02. So it was one of those funny deals where like it wasn't funny, it was sad, but like I was like, "You're still down here," and you know, like I'd never met Marco Cooper before, so it was Marco Cooper and Derek Ross. We're sitting there, and I was like, "Cool." And they had on some Buckeye Bank T-shirts, and I was like, "What's that logo?" And Buckeye something Bank. And I was like, "Oh, cool." So yeah, but I'm glad he's out on bail, and I think he had a couple. Might have had some chicken wings. I don't know. So, but yeah, I think he's out. Derek Combs, I don't know. Art, don't know. I felt like Ray got out unless he did something again, but you know, again, like it's like you said, when there's, I think that, and again, I'm not speaking on any specific kid, but I always feel like when some of these guys go after stuff, and whether it's drugs or bank robbing or whatever, I always feel like there's some guys that chase fast money because they didn't make it in football. They didn't make it to the league. There's some guys in the recruiting class that are signing $10 million contracts and got drafted and living lavish and whatever. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of pressure on these kids when they get, you know, they go to Ohio State and everyone automatically assumes they're going to make it to the league, make it to the NFL, drafted, living lavish. And when things don't go on schedule, then all of a sudden it's just like, oh wow, how can I make some loot so I can floss my Louis Vuitton bags and my Rollies and stuff. Like, I don't know. But I mean, I never like thought. I mean, there's guys from my class that made tens of millions of dollars, but I was never just like, wow, like whatever. I was always happy to get whatever I got, just because like life's short and I'm not gonna be miserable comparing myself to every other person in the world. But like some of these kids, that's what they do, and I think that that's why they get caught up. It's like they get caught up in the life, and they get caught up in the vortex. And honestly, it's like it's kind of sad because like dude, like there's guys that they would kill to just have your career at Ohio State, let alone anything else on top of that. But that's just my opinion. And again, I could be completely wrong. Say, oh, Kirk, you're a hater, you're dumb, you're whatever. But it's like I always feel like there's got to be a good transition plan for guys that don't make it to the league, because some of these guys, they don't take their school seriously. They get some trash major, then they get done. They have no idea what they want to do, and then they get caught up in the fast life. And for some of these guys, their worst people to be around are the kids they grew up with. I mean, those guys will pull them. It's like a riptide in the ocean, man. They pull them right to the bottom of the ocean, and it's sad because like I want to see all these kids do good, and sadly some of them don't. Tony Turley, what is up, brother? Appreciate you, my man. I hope you had a great week. Thank you for being a Scoop Hall of Famer. Thanks for being an Ultra member as well. Thank you for the 50. I hope you're having a great night. It looks like they're about to post in about 5 minutes, so we're going to wrap this thing up. Just thank you for all the great content. Love all the Scoop Gang. Golf League started last week, which is why I've been out lately. Kirk, did you get my email with the contract example? Yes, I did. And I talked to your good friend Nevadabuck, who is our contract wizard that will work with you on for potentially adding some new folks to Buckeye Scoop. So hint, hint. But I appreciate you, Tony. You're the absolute best. And I hope that you come to our Scoop golf outings. It's going to be fire. It's July 30th this year. Nevada OH. Nevada, anything to say to Tony Turley, who is the GOAT?
You are the GOAT, Tony, Hall of Famer. To come to the BuckeyeScoop.com golf outing, Youngstown Country Club, July 30th. That is open to all BuckeyeScoop.com members. So if you want to, there's no better time to join BuckeyeScoop.com than now. You come to the golf out. All we're asking for is a donation to the Pay It Forward, whatever you want to make a donation. You get a great day out of fellowship with your friends and fellow Buckeyes on the beautiful Youngstown Country Club, and you get the courtesy of David Pinterick, who's one of the great members, one of our great owners of the business, and one of our great founders. So come on out. Great time to join BuckeyeScoop.com. If you like golf, that pays for the membership right there. So go ahead, time to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Gonna wrap this thing up. I'd be remiss, and I apologize. This graphic is a little off kilter, but it is with some sadness to report Tim Kite, who a lot of you guys recognize and know, a guy that was a leader. This is Urban Meyer's statement on Tim Kite. He passed away last night. It was announced by his son, Brian Kite. These guys were pretty instrumental in leadership with the team Urban hired him to conduct leadership. The E+R=O stuff that kind of spread all through Central Ohio was Tim Kite. TK was a great dude. Sad that he's gone. I mean, he was a guy that I actually got pretty close with. Came and spoke at a couple of my jobs. He asked me to get him in some places, and there's a really and he was great. He was fantastic. He's a really sharp guy, and it's a good loss. I mean, he's a guy that just was a great person to be around. Super optimistic. Was texting with him a couple months ago. Succumbed to cancer. So again, enjoy your days, folks, because you don't know when it's going to go. But to Brian and to Tim's wife and everyone who was affected by this, our condolences at BuckeyeScoop.com because Tim was a great dude, and it really sucks that he's gone. So enjoy yourselves, guys, and we'll break. Nevada will wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts as the post time is in about 3 minutes?
Yeah, just enjoy every day. I say every day, enjoy the journey. It's the journey, not the destination, because when you get the destination, that's the end of it. The fun is getting there. We're going to have a lot of fun getting there in 2024, and count your blessings, hug your kids and your pets, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Totally agree. We just had another super chat pop up. Sean Schrock, what is up, brother? I hope you're having a great Saturday. Thank you for being an Ultra member. Thank you for the 5. Hey, Kirk, I know you knew John Hicks. Was he the one who pulled down the Michigan banner back in the 70s? Yes, he was. Hicks, he was very proud of that. He was a monster of a player. Great human, great mentor to me. A guy that I miss severely at this point. He used to tell me great Woody Hayes stories. We used to have lunch with him about every week. So yeah, that was Hicksy that pulled the banner down, and he was one of the greatest Buckeyes. So you talk about the 5 greatest offensive linemen of all time. It's absolutely John Hicks. It's absolutely Orlando Pace, Jim Parker. Then it's probably Corey Stringer, and then the center is kind of up in the air. It could be Charles Bentley, could be Nick Mangold. There's a lot of good centers. And we'll see how Paris is. If Paris turns up in the NFL, he could be on that list as the 5th guy, and then he's going to figure out which one wants to snap the ball. So really good list of guys, but Hicksy's probably the 2nd or 3rd. I'd go Orlando, Jim Parker, Hicksy as the 3 best offensive linemen that ever played at Ohio State. So that being said, I'll get you guys to the Derby. It's about to go pretty quickly here. I got it on a side screen TV. So I appreciate you guys. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Every night we go, we usually put up an early show if we're going to go. I try to let you guys know that we're going early, just so you guys can jump on the show. But I know you guys want to watch the Derby, so I appreciate you guys. So again, appreciate all of the likes. Those are huge for getting the channel. As other you guys subscribing, spread the good word. Send it to your friends. Share it on Facebook. That's a huge help. A lot of people have been doing that. Share it on Twitter. So thank you guys for that. As always, I hope you guys are having a great Saturday. Great sports night ahead tonight. So I appreciate you guys. That being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. Time to watch the horses go Bucks.